Well, hello there, and welcome once again to my little corner of the arty internet on YouTube. Of course, I have other little corners like my blog and my Facebook pages and Instagram and deviantArt and even an Etsy shop and a Redbubble shop. Not that I've updated either for a while, but you know, I'll get around to it eventually. But it's Saturday and it's the 11th of September. It's really nice out. It's sort of like slightly overcast and slightly sunny, getting sunny spells, and there's a nice breeze. So I'm hoping that this afternoon I'll get my backside into gear and take myself out with the sketchbook and hopefully find somewhere to stand, sit, draw, whatever for a while. I may not. I don't know. But talking of sketchbooks, as it's Saturday, it's Sketchbook Saturday, so it's a little look through what I've been doing this week that I may not have shared already, or at least all in one place. So I think this is where I finished last week, more or less, because it's Sketchtember. So for the whole month of September, the idea is that you do a drawing challenge every day. Naturally, I got so engrossed one day that I did more than one day. In fact, I got quite a few done, but nonetheless, I've done. And I think this is where I left last week. I could be wrong. But this was some stuff I'd done with saffron, crocus sativa, and rosemary leaves and rosemary lettering and so on, which I'd made use of. I'd made a right mess of that page. Trust me, it's not the only mess up I've done this week. It's my ability to mess things up is spectacular. If only I could be spectacular in getting things so right more often. But there we are. That's the nature of art and creativity. Sometimes you have to try some things out and you face palm and you go, oh, why did I do that? And then several months later you go and do exactly the same thing because you thought it was a good idea again. Well, in my case, because my memory ain't what it used to be. Brain fog and such like. But, you know, it's all part and parcel of it. Perhaps I could come back to it hoping that I can make it work. And sometimes, maybe. And this was an idea I really like, but I haven't done anything with this week yet. I'm not sure if I showed you this one, which is thyme with little bits. I actually like this with the little shiny bits on the bright spots. That's nice. And the drawings, and I used a biro to add shading to these drawings, just, you know, a lighter shade of grey, so it wasn't quite so stark, and the ability to change the thickness of the lines, which isn't so easy with a fine liner. I'm not sure if I showed you this one, which again is another sheet full of thyme. You know, close up of the thyme flower. These are pictures of probably the seeds, I think, an ovary, and very sort of like simplified, almost lino cut, wood cut kind of thing. And some more drawings of the leaves. And of course I did some hand lettering, but yeah. Note to self, don't fill your letters with patterns, Angela. Not unless, you know, yeah. Bay leaf was what I think I was working on last Sunday. And, oh, basil. It was basil I think I'd got to, more or less. And I think last Sunday I actually created this little flap. So I actually redrew this. She traced it. Shock horror, I traced my drawing, my own drawing, I traced it. Yeah, somebody's going to complain about that. Tracing is cheating. No, it's not. It depends what you're tracing for. I could have redrawn the whole plant, but I wanted it like a little lifty-uppy thing. This is why light boxes are sold, and this is what camera obscuras were for originally. And Dürer with his grid, so he could understand foreshortening and help to bring the idea of foreshortening into the world of art, because there was no foreshortening in art before that. If you look at medieval manuscripts, everything was drawn very much out of proportion, and just as the artists want to draw it. But there is a place for tracing, not for copying somebody's, though there is if you're copying somebody else's work, sort of, because it can be a very valuable way to practice and get muscle memory and a sense of proportion and things for things like portraits and so on. And if you are drawing somebody's beloved pet, for example, you'd want it to look like their pet. And just getting the general idea of the layout of faces, patterns, the features of faces, patterns and so on. It's time saving. Use a photograph. You can't use the pets, not unless you squash it flat. But, photograph, and then everything else is, you make use of that and you go forwards. Tracing somebody else's work without anything of your own is a different thing entirely. But it can still, if you're going to pass it off as your own, if you're doing it for practice, it's still a very valuable tool artistically for many artists, especially when they're learning. But it shouldn't become a crutch. But I do know that professional portrait artists and others will sometimes trace. It depends what medium they work in and what their workflow is. But to make sense of that, you've still got to have those really good observational skills and ability to make marks on paper and so on. I'm having a rant about tracing. So there are times when it's not a good idea to use, and there are times when it's perfectly allowable. And this was my own drawing, which means me redrawing it is perfectly fine, no matter what you may say. It saved a bit of time, and it also meant that I had something that was very similar. They're not identical because they never are, but they're close. The flower pot's a completely different shape. But I thought that would be a bit fun, sort of like black and white colour. Bay leaf I did. I coloured some of the leaves in. I want to use chameleon markers for these, because markers are becoming my go-to colouring medium at the moment. And some examples of hand lettering here. So this week has been an odd week. I will flip through these quickly. I'll come back to that because I realised I was drawing an awful lot of leaves and getting very fed up of leaves and realising they were getting a bit samey and my ideas weren't very fresh or whatever. So I thought, I rather like seed pods. They're from plants. I've drawn some seeds, so let's do some seeds. Some of these are observational, some are observational but then stylized, and well, they're all stylized because that's my style of drawing. But and some are more imaginary. These look more like bits of coral, but trust me, they're meant to be seeds. And so these are for Sketchtember, and I'm up to day, oh gosh, day is it today? It's the 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th. So day 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't remember what order I did them in, but I drew all of these in one big go. I kid you not, I went crazy. I was drawing on a sheet of marker paper. I bought some new marker paper. I thought I'd try the Arteza because it's a little bit thicker than my other one, a little bit sturdier. It is noticeably sturdier, but it actually warps a little with markers, which I found quite strange because I'm not sure the De La Rowney I've been using, which is a lighter weight, does that. But nonetheless, it works. It does what it's meant to do, and that's fine. Although I have had some feathering, bleeding out. But that may be because I'm not always using Arteza markers. I use chameleons as well, and I haven't dug my Copics out yet, but I'm bound to. Lots of dots on here with souffle pens, gel pens, and sometimes some gold up there. And the shiny, you can see I actually made the seeds inside shiny just because I can, because it's in my sketchbook. My favourite on this page most probably is this one. Very soft, very muted colours. Not typically me, but I really quite like that one. This one, oh, choice of colours, appalling. It's the background needs changing, and I may go and do that because a darker colour, a dark blue perhaps, would work quite nicely. I don't know what I was thinking. And same here, this blue is a bit on the bright side, so I may dull it down, use grey or whatever. I could actually use grey with that and turn it into a very grey turquoisey colour. Bit of hand lettering there. It's done with a Sakura Moonlight pen. Space there for a drawing or whatever. This one is perhaps the one I'm happiest with and most pleased with, apart from my... I start dotting and I can't stop. It's addictive, but I really need to learn to put them where there really are highlights. It's not all the way across. But nonetheless, I'm really quite pleased with it. And my most favourite one, which isn't going to show, it's not showing up very well on the camera. So let me just increase the exposure perhaps a little bit. Let's see how it goes. There's one here, which is less reddy, more beigey, browny, paler, and I've got the contrast right on this one. I'm struggling with contrast and markers. It is working out what colours I can use. Obviously with the, I say obviously, if you're not familiar with chameleon pens, then I've got the option of using colourless blender in the tip of a marker, so you get an area of no colour and it fades gradually to full saturation. And of course the more colourless blend, I say of course, but the more colourless blender you put into the tip, the greater area you can cover and the slower fade you get, and you can stop it at an appropriate point, kind of. There's a skill to it and a practice that's needed. And this is today's one. Not sure if it's seaweed, weird cacti or seed pods. You take your pick, could be any of the above. I actually quite like the funky colours. This is Lagoon in the chameleons, which is sort of like a grey turquoise colour. And then I think this is coral. I'm almost positive it was coral that I used. And then I've used dots of white souffle. And then the pinky colour, reddy pink dots, are Signo, Uniball Signo, red, it's pastel red. And then these darkish greens are from the Sakura Moonlights. And they just add that hint of shadow in places. Could have put, I didn't stop and think that I could have used them as a line, to be honest. So that's there. These are the next couple of days to be done. I've got 4 days of drawings to do, so I'll eventually work out what I want to draw next. I may go back to the list of herbs, see what there is there. I may cherry pick, herb pick my herbs. What do you call it when you add herbs? Seasoning. Choose my seasoning for my pages. Flavouring, possibly. Or I may carry on with seed pods, or I may go on to do something else. So there's that. I'll come back to my sketchbook. I know I showed these, but I don't think I've done any more since you last saw them. But I do want to get them finished, so that's just an update on those. This was a drawing that I did on, it's on marker paper, and I've used a mixture of markers on here. I've used both the Arteza Everblend markers and chameleon markers. The Arteza sets I've got the architectural tones and grey tones. They fill in gaps that aren't easily filled or aren't filled in the chameleon palettes, like the Copics would fill some gaps in. And so I'm working with both. Which is which, I can most probably have a guess. That's definitely Arteza. The greens here are Arteza, there are Arteza. But this one, I actually went over it a couple of times with the colours to intensify the colours. The background is definitely Arteza's, the grey. I thought I'd go for a neutral background, and I most probably will end up going and intensifying the contrast in places once I finish colouring, adding shadows and so on. These are chameleons here. I think that blue is, but some of these greys and blues, they're the Artezas again. Here, those are Artezas. But a lot of the others, these here are chameleons. That's chameleon, but all of these here are Artezas. A lot of these are the Artezas, but not all. This is chameleon. And here you can see how the blending of, from practically, did I use one colour? I think I went from colourless to dark, possibly. Again, I can't remember. But these the Artezas, which are lovely. They're they're different colours. They work in the same way. They're markers. These actually are lovely. They're olive green. I'm really chuffed with that. Then if I go to Thursday, Template Thursday, for the Angela Porter's Colouring Book Fans Facebook group, I created 2 designs on one sheet of paper to print out, and they were designed to take a photo booth size picture. I trimmed this one down because, as usual, I measure things up, but when it gets translated onto paper it's never quite right. But it's a good thing I left big borders on my nested rectangles, is all I'm going to say. And I coloured around here. I will, when I finished adding colour to this, which hopefully I'll do, no guarantee of it, let's probably put some gold outline, much the same way as I have around my poppy heads here. And I've fixed that skew width. I'm notorious for doing this. But what I could do is to take it out, mount it on card and put it back on. There's lots of options. Could even cut this out, mount this on card behind. There's loads of options. There's loads of things I could do. But I'm using Artezas here from the architectural pack, and I've gone for the warmer shades of grey and grey browns. And I'm actually enjoying that that kind of aged look. It's not quite sepia, but it looks aged and vintage and faded. So it matches well with the photographs in some ways. This is the other one. This is the one I actually finished for Thursday. Lots of white dots. But these are the greens and blues and greys. And again, they're from the grey set, the Arteza Everblend grey set. And I like that soft muted look, and it's a very coherent look, although I had about 8 different pens out. They were in pairs, so there's really only 4 or 5, was it 8 or 10? 4 or 5 pairs of colours used. And sometimes, you know, no, it was 8, because sometimes I'd use like a green with a blue and things like that, so mixed and matched them to get these. The contrast isn't quite what I'd like though. And that's something I need to work on. I need to work on leaving some white space and how I do that. But it's learning. And I thought I'd try doing these in colour to see what a photo booth image would look like against colours. This one, these are all, excuse me, chameleons. And I've gone, you know, I want the more toned down look, but still colourful, not in your face, bright ones. So this is vermilion, which is a red orange, and I've used that colour here but in full saturation, because I thought with these I can add highlights with dots or lines or gel pens. I will work it. I managed to get a little bit of a highlight there, but I decided here that's how I do it and see how I go. So there's those. Let me move those out the way. So I've still got plenty to do. One other thing I had this week was I thought I would try, oh, then this is going to be interesting, this from Ohuhu, which is it's marker paper, it's bound, and I thought brilliant, sketchbook for taking out. It says it's double-sided, so you can use both sides, no bleeding through. So got to test it, so I did an entangled drawing, and I like my drawing, and the colours help to bring things to life. And I'm using, again here I'm using Artezas, but from the architectural tones. But I will add in chameleons. I may even dig my Copics out. I can see them, I know where they are. I've just got to move a couple of things and put them on my desk, just to add that variation of colour. I love these grey greens here. I really do love these grey greens. They're in the architectural pack. There are lovely grey greens as well in the greys. So yeah, so I've been doing this. So no bleed through, they said. No bleed through, they said. Bleed through, Angela says. And I didn't go over with lots and lots of layers. I only went over with one layer. And this most probably explains why they include this Does stop bleed through to the other page below? So on one hand they say there's no bleed through, you can use both sides, it gives you 120 pages. In reality you get 60 pages in here, which means this is expensive for what it is, I think. 120 sides, it would have been okay. I think I paid about £14 for this, and this is a lot more than I'd pay for an ordinary sketchbook, and I could use an ordinary sketchbook and it works in just the same way. So I will make use of this, you know, it's gimmicky things here like perforations for easy removal and what have you, but I won't be buying one of these again. But you've got to try them to find out, haven't you? So that's my experience anyway. Get it. Perhaps they only mean it if you use the Ohuhu markers, which I don't have, and I'm not going to invest in because I'm up to my eyeballs in markers at the present time. So unless there's a very good reason for me to get them. I know they're very inexpensive and I know a lot of people really love them, but I love my chameleons. I like the Artwyrds very much, and the Copics are fab too. So there we are. So if I go back to my other sketchbook, because I showed you some stuff, I don't know if my Sketchtember shows up at the bottom there. What do you call it? A souffle pen. So I've got this lovely pink. It went on really bright and I thought, oh, what have I done? Now it's just faded to the background. I could bring that out with a little splash of distress ink or some such, but I quite like it being there muted. It's enough to see. So if I go back, I have to draw. I can't not draw. And so this I was drawing yesterday and finished it this morning. I spent some time sat in bed listening to podcasts with a mug of tea. And when I woke up, I was hoping I'd get back to sleep. I didn't. And it's okay. This I really not at all. I wasn't at all fussed on this bit, but I think it's okay now that everything's been put in around it. These funny eyes are creeping into my work again. There must be a reason for it. And these are a Zentangled pattern. I'll tell you which one it is now, and I'll tell you why I mentioned this. Which one was it? This is me trying to find it. Do you think I can find it? Oh, I know why, because it's not in here. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a couple. There may be a couple in here. Is it in this one? No, it's the next one. Because I've decided that I'm going to. I've decided it's Inktober next month, so it'd be nice to draw something every day. I'm going to be in, you know, not up to my eyeballs, but I also need to be conscious that I have another book that needs to be done by the end of November. And so for Inktober, I saw a list of tangles, Zentangles for Zen, you know, so like a tangle a day, Zentangle a day for Inktober. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun. Because part of me thinks, well, I could do an individual drawing, but it could be that I make a start on a drawing and work on it with the tangles as they crop up, plus a couple of my own, you know, my own favourites that can go in there. They're not necessarily tangle patterns, but and see what happens. So, but this is typical me work. It's typically me. A bit strange, but me. And then I wasn't ready to get up, so I started work on another one. Yeah, why not? And I enjoyed that. Oh no, but yesterday afternoon I was on edge because I was expecting a phone call from the surgery for a checkup and never came. And when I checked my appointments online, the one that I was booked in for seemed to have vanished. And even though I was there yesterday morning to hand something in, And they said, oh, you've got an appointment this afternoon. That's okay then. I said, well, I need another one for this. And they said, okay, well, I came away without booking in, without anything else. Good thing I looked online because it's booked now. Something is booked for Tuesday morning. It's at stupid o'clock in the morning for me, 9:30, she says. I'm usually awake long before then. And I'm not quite sure what it's for, so I shall have but there's no other appointment. So hopefully we can get everything sorted then, because I've got a couple of things that need to be seen to, or perhaps it'll all be done in one session. I don't know, is the honest answer. So this. So I was drawing yesterday afternoon while I was waiting for that, and I thought, oh, let's have a go at some stuff. And this is what happened. I saw this, I think I was looking on tanglepatterns.com, and I think it's called a why not. I think it's called Why Not. I could be wrong. I thought I'll have a go at drawing that, because I know in the past I've tried to follow instructions, and sometimes people overcomplicate something, or the way they do it doesn't work in my head, and it takes a while. But I managed to sort of it's a nightmare. To draw the second one was a nightmare. Draw the first one wasn't easy for me, because I was there going, what am I doing here? And eventually it clicks, and I think I definitely could do it in a different way for myself, put it that way. So I thought I'll split the page up into sections and fill each section with a pattern. I'm not fussed. This is just not me. Somebody's going to say this is lovely, but it really isn't. It doesn't sit well with me. It was nice as an experience, I suppose. It kept me busy. I use different Zentangle patterns, although that one isn't a Zentangle pattern. That's an Angela thing. And just to see how things happened, and I thought, oh, what was I thinking? Best laid man, plans are mice to men. This is this week's equivalent of that awful page. I mean, it's most probably not as bad, but it really doesn't sit as well with me. So everybody messes up. It's just that not everybody shows you their messes up. We all make mistakes, or we all do things we think will turn out and they don't. So that's this week's flip through my sketchbooks. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing at all for the rest of today, tomorrow, whenever. I'm sure I've got meetings to go to online, sort of, and things like that, but that's a different story. So I am now going to say, I hope you enjoyed this perhaps overly long, rambling flip through my sketchbooks, because boy can I ramble. I hope you've enjoyed seeing what I've done. I hope it inspires you in some way. And I hope the fact that I make mess ups. I mean, we've had quite a few here. Colour choices, oh yeah. Yeah, colour choices, big time. And, you know, sort of like trying ideas out and thinking, this really doesn't sit well with me. Other people can do it and it looks fantastic, but I do the same thing and I just go, what is it? And it's just not my style, I suppose. This more organic, growing kind of thing is more my style. I don't mind border around the edge of the page, but I don't like to be constrained into spaces otherwise. And even the border I will either ignore or overrun, as long as it's drawn in pencil. Pencil ones are okay these days on my personal work. But yeah, so there we are. So that's a look through my week. And obviously next Saturday we'll have a look at what I've done in the coming week. So until then, take care. Be safe, be well, and find time to be creative. Bye-bye for now. Bye.